Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander viewers are advised that the following program contains images of people who have died.
Just 5 minutes south of Mergen sits Cherbourg, home to the Ration Shed Museum, our next visit. So in honour of the Waka Waka people recently being recognised as the native title holders in the area, Bert and I are meeting with Stacey to get a better understanding of just how big of a win this is for the people of Cherbourg.
Now, it's called the Ration Shed Museum.
Yeah.
And I guess in my mind I've conjured up pictures where people used to come and get their food.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, absolutely correct. So the Ration Shed is the namesake of our museum, and this is the building that we're standing in right now. So this building has historical value in the sense that during the Protection Act in the early 1900s that started, this building was actually used for a weekly gathering place to come and grab your government rations. So this was the actual building, not its original location, but we brought that here because it has historical value for the community.
And I think that's the cool thing about it, that now we can talk about it, and for my generation of travellers that are out there, I mean, as you're driving into Mergen, this is just out of town.
Yeah.
Just hit the indicator, pull in,
Yep.
and you can actually come and teach yourself something that, let's face it, we weren't taught at school.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. It's 5 minutes drive from Mergen, 10-minute drive from wineries, the recreational dams. We're in a beautiful location, and this place has so much to offer, and you can learn so much.
Well, what do you reckon, Bert? We better go and have a look around, I think.
It's a great idea. Very interesting to see a little bit more about what the exhibition has to show.
I agree. What about you, Stacey? Would you like to be our guide this afternoon?
I reckon I can do that, yep.
Well, I reckon we're all set then. Why don't we go and have a look? Yep. Where
Sounds
do we
good.
start? This one?
Yeah, the same, yep.
These days the Ration Shed functions as a hub and historical landmark, but only a few decades ago it served a cruel purpose.
So in this office, people would come and they would get permits to leave the community, to come into the community, to marry, to be assigned to work, and also for things like removals of children and stuff like that.
So how was the superintendent chosen, and what was effectively their job description?
So the job description was pretty much to run the comings and goings and daily life of the people that were placed in the reserve.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And what sort of power did they have?
Pretty much ultimate control over a person's day-to-day living, where they worked, if they remained together as a family unit, if they were to remain in Cherbourg or to be sent to another reserve such as Palm Island, if they were put in jail, quite an extensive control.
So it's obvious that many of them must have been hated a lot by the local community, because it must have been pretty hard for them.
I think it was definitely a hard thing for them to deal with. I think being summoned to this office would have been a very stressful thing for the person coming in here.
And despite how the Indigenous people were treated, they still maintained their love for their land and their people, to the extent that they were willing to fight for it. But even that proved to be a challenge.
Along the lines of World War I, World War II, quite often Indigenous people couldn't be enlisted because they weren't considered actual people. They were under the Flora and Fauna Act, so likened to a tree or a bird. So how they would get around that is kind of like warfare mentality, really. It was really, really smart. They would pretend they were Indian, or they would pretend they were Iraqian or Arab, or they would say they were part Asian or something like that to be able to enlist. If you were a darker skin, you would quite often be rejected.
I mean, I can't even start to imagine the process that was going on in their head, where they're saying, I want to volunteer, I want to go and help, I want to be a part of this, I'm the wrong colour, and I am prepared to lie so I can go somewhere and be treated worse than everyone else.
And fight for the
amazing.
country.
Yeah, so far from home.
Which is just amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's very strong and solid effort. Like I couldn't comprehend it either, but it's amazing. Like when you hear these stories, you just think how awesome is that? You know, like they didn't care what people thought, and they just wanted to do right by their country. You know.
Probably valuing the land.
Yeah,
That's
very much
theirs.
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fighting for what they know is
theirs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, wow, and the names and the pictures that we see on the walls here are just from this little community, and there are communities like this all over Australia that had the exact same thing going on. And when you're in the region, come and see Stacey and the team, because I'll guarantee you'll learn a few things.
Yeah, it'll be good to have everyone.
Thanks.